everyone, it's Miss Terry and I'm here with my February picks for students in grades 7 through 8. We'll go through some fiction and then we'll go through some graphic novels and then some nonfiction. So the first fiction story I have is a book called Cut Off by Adrienne Finley, and this is a story about a TV show called Cut Off in which participants are in a survivor-like situation. However, it's a little bit more unique in that the audience can participate through virtual reality. So they can hear, smell, taste everything that the contestants are going through. There's $1 million prize and it's for teenagers to participate in. And so there's 4 teenagers left in the show, River, Cam, Trip, and Liza. And they realize that they literally have been cut off. It's kind of been radio silence from the people who are supposed to kind of protect them and make sure that nothing goes wrong. Now the contestants continue to try to survive. They are able to what they call tap out when they're ready to say, okay, I'm done, I give up, I don't care anymore about the prize, I just want to get out of here. And even though the teens get into more and more dangerous situations, they aren't able to tap out. There doesn't seem like anybody's there anymore. So the 4 teens are trying to figure out what is going on and to see if they can get off what has become a nightmare of a survivor show. So that's called Cut Off. This next one is another book that's a little bit on the scary side. This one is called Haunted Hospital, and it's about a boy named Xander, and he really likes to play this game called Spirits and Specters, which is a lot like Dungeons and Dragons, but you go on quest to kind of find paranormal activity. And there is an abandoned hospital near his house that he thinks would be a perfect spot to play this game. So he and his friends go set up there, and they quickly realize that they are not alone in the hospital, and they're trying to discover if it's actually haunted or if something even worse is happening. Again, this is definitely a step up from Goosebumps, so if you like scary stories, you might enjoy Haunted Hospital. Kind of also along those same lines as kind of a murder mystery, what's going on. This one is called Little Creeping Things, and I don't know why, but whenever they put a doll on the cover of a book, it just makes it that much scarier. This is by Chelsea Achaso, and this is about a girl named Cassidy, and when she was a little girl, she accidentally set a fire that killed her neighbor, who was also happened to be her best friend. So she's kind of always been known as the fire girl. She doesn't really remember exactly what happened on that day when she was younger. But she gets bullied a lot, especially by a girl named Melody, who's kind of that, you know, quintessential mean girl, that girl you're always like, oh, I just wish that she could, you know, get karma. And Cassidy and her friends actually had written out, probably not the smartest idea, had written out a way to get rid of Melody. Well, next thing you know, Melody has gone missing, and Cassidy receives this text that says, oh, I'm so glad we're in this together. And she realizes that somebody knows that she was thinking that Melody needed to go, and now her and her friends are trying to solve the mystery of what has happened to Melody in the hopes that Cassidy will not be blamed for her disappearance. So Little Creeping Things. This next one is called The Inheritance Games, and this is about a girl named Avery, and Avery is under the care of her sister. Her parents are gone, and her sister's boyfriend has just moved in, and Avery's like, I really don't like this guy, and I'm gonna go live in my car. So her plan now is just to try to survive high school and then move out on her own and go to college. Well, all of a sudden she discovers that she has been named as the sole heir of Tobias Hawthorne, who was this huge billionaire in Texas. And in order to receive all of the money, she has to live in his house for a year with 2 sisters of his who are very angry that Avery got the money, and 4 of his grandsons. Now, Tobias was really big into puzzles and mysteries, and his house is this big labyrinth of secret compartments, secret rooms, and all these puzzles. And the grandsons are convinced that Avery is his last puzzle, and they are asking her to help them solve the mystery. So that's called The Inheritance Games. This next one is called The Girl Who Wasn't There, and this is about a girl named Kaja. And Kaja actually has a syndrome called chronic fatigue syndrome, which means she can barely walk a couple feet without becoming absolutely exhausted. And she's kind of stuck at home. She's living in her room for months at a time until things start to get better. And she one day witnesses out her window what looks like the kidnapping of a girl. And she immediately calls the police, and she says, I don't think I was the only witness. There was this girl across the street who was watching as well. Well, when the police go across the street to question this other witness, it's discovered that there is no teenage girl that lives there. And now Kasha and her friend is trying to figure out what happened there. Where did this kidnapped girl go? Who was that girl across the street? And are they going to be able to solve the mystery before something happens to them? So that's the girl who wasn't there. This next one is called One Way or Another. This is definitely on the lighter side. This is about a girl named Paige, and the holidays are approaching, and she has a decision to make. She can spend the holidays with her best friend, who is also her secret crush. His family is going up into the mountains for skiing, and she kind of wants to go there. But her mom has also offered to take her to New York for a week. Well, Paige has a lot of anxiety, and she has a hard time making a decision. So this book gives her an opportunity to look at both fates. It's told in alternating chapters. In one chapter, she's gone with her best friend, and in one chapter, she's gone with her mom. And these are the two stories, and you can decide at the end which was the better choice for her. It's One Way or Another. Definitely has a little bit of a romance to it as well. This next one is called Charming as a Verb, and this is about a boy named Henry. And Henry has one goal. He wants to go to Columbia University, and he needs money to do that. So he kind of sets up this dog walking business, but he is able to kind of con those around him into thinking it's a much larger corporation, so that wealthy people in New York will trust him to walk their dogs. So he's making a lot of money. Well, his kind of super smart, shy neighbor, Corinne, figures out the scam and decides she's going to blackmail Henry into helping her kind of improve her social status, because he's definitely a charmer. He's handsome, he's popular, he does really well in school, and she wants some of that because she's kind of shy and quiet, and she's trying to beef up her application to Princeton. So she decides she's going to blackmail Henry and say, if you don't help me out, then I'm going to tell everybody that you're kind of scamming them. So if you like stories where the boy and girl kind of dislike each other quite a bit at the beginning and things start to change, you definitely will enjoy Charming as a Verb. This next one is called Disappeared. This is by Francisco X. Stork, and this is about a girl named Sarah, and she is a reporter in her hometown of Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, and she is trying to uncover some of the corruption that is going on there. Her and her mom and her brother are pretty much living in poverty. Her brother is really into soccer. He has this girlfriend that he really likes, but he's been having all these little odd jobs to try to bring money home to help his mom and his sister. And so at the same time that Sarah is trying to uncover some of the corruption, Emiliano ends up getting involved in something he really doesn't want to be involved in, and that is the drug trade that is going on in Juarez. So when Sarah really does uncover some really horrible people doing horrible things, her and her brother decide to escape across the border to America, and then the story kind of focuses more a little bit on Emiliano and some of the troubles that he is trying to get himself out of. So this is called Disappeared. This next one is of the superhero variety. This one is called Diana and the Island of No Return, and this starts when Diana, who would soon one day become Wonder Woman, is a young girl. She's about 12 in this story. And she is trying to convince her mom, the queen, that she could train to become an Amazon warrior. And they're just about to have this big celebration where women from all around the world come and, kind of almost like an Olympics, where they have games and then they have like, I can't think of the word, a fair where everybody gets to kind of show off their skills, and Deanna's hoping this is her opportunity to show her mom that she has what it takes to become an Amazon. And then a mysterious boy turns up to warn Diana that something is going on, and it might not only destroy her world, but the entire world. So if you like Wonder Woman stories, you will enjoy the story of Diana as a young girl. And then the last fiction one, this one is called Ascendance of a Bookworm. And even though it is not written in a manga style, it is kind of still a story in the manga sense. And this is about a girl who actually, she's a college student, but she dies. And she ends up in kind of another realm as a young girl named Mine. And the place that she ends up is not doing very well. The literacy rate is very low, and Mine is a huge bookworm. She loves to read, and she decides that she's going to change this about her world and start making her own books. This is the first in the series. There are others that go along with that. So those are the fiction. Let's talk about some of the graphic novels. This first one is by Jason Reynolds. It's called Long Way Down. This is actually a graphic novel version of his book. Long Way Down, and it's a story about a boy who lives kind of in a rough neighborhood where violence often, unfortunately, is the case, and his brother ends up getting shot and killed. And this story is told from the point of view of his surviving brother who wants to come and get revenge on those who have killed his brother. And The Long Way Down refers to his ride at the top floor down to the bottom in the elevator, where he's trying to decide how he's going to get his revenge. And on each floor, somebody gets onto the elevator and talks to him and tries to convince him that this revenge is only going to lead to more heartache. So it's called Long Way Down. This next one is a new take on Nancy Drew. If you're familiar with who Nancy Drew is, she's a young girl who likes to solve mysteries, and this is her as she gets a little bit older. And she ends up, she's not really at home, she's kind of away at school, when she gets this cryptic message that she needs to return home and solve a mystery. And when she gets back there, somebody tries to kill her. So now she's trying to figure out what is happening and to solve a mystery, and also in order to save her life. So that's called Nancy Drew, The Palace of Wisdom. This is definitely a fun take on Nancy Drew. She's gotten an update and is a lot cooler than she was in the older books, even though she was pretty cool then. So this next one is called Blank Canvas, My So-Called Artist Journey, and this is a manga title, so it's read from the back to the front. And this is about Akiko, who really wants to become a manga artist very badly, but she feels like she needs some lessons. So she ends up signing up for this art class with this bamboo sword wielding taskmaster of a teacher who hates manga and tells her that all of her work is terrible. But it turns out that maybe this teacher has a little bit better understanding of what exactly Akiko is looking for in his class. And this is the first in the series. It's called Blank Canvas. So this is definitely, if you like manga, you'll enjoy this, but if you also like the art of manga, you will also enjoy this. The Underfoot, this one is called The Underfoot, The Mighty Deep. It takes place when the giants that were left, and I kind of get the impression that the giants that were human beings, but they've kind of left behind their science that has let animals become smart, thinking, can talk creatures. And this focuses on the Hamster Aquatic Mercenaries, or HAM, which is a group of hamsters that are trying very hard to keep their little colony of hamsters safe. And they're also trying to work with their allies, the badgers, whose world is flooding. And the HAM decides that they need some new recruits. So this first book in this series is them getting the best of the hamsters to come and compete in order to become members of their group. Again, this is written in graphic novel, comic book format. If you like books like, I'm going to say the Hunter series, the Warrior series by Aaron Hunter, you probably will enjoy this. This next one is historical fiction, kind of historical fiction. It's called Displacement, and it's about a girl named Kiku who is visiting San Francisco when she is magically transported back in time to be with her grandmother, Ernestina, in the 1940s when Japanese Americans were sent to internment camps during World War II. And she is quickly discovering all of the history she was not taught in school about this time period as she's living it with her grandmother. Called Displacement. The Montauk Twins is a story about Peter and Alistair, who are twins that love to solve mysteries. And one day they're at the beach when this big storm comes up, and they realize that there's something that their guardian is not telling them about what they are capable of. And when some girls go missing after a spell gone wrong, the Montauk Twins decide that they're going to try to figure out what has happened to them and try to unlock their true abilities. Maybe that will also help them figure out what happened to their parents. So this is called The Montauk Twins, The Witch's Hand. And then the last graphic novel I have today is called Fantastic Tales of Nothing. And Nothing is a community where humans live with creatures called Vulcan, magic abounds, and Nathan is the main character. And he's a simple human, he thinks, with a simple life, which sometimes is great and sometimes not so great. And he ends up getting stuck in the forest with some very angry Vulcan chasing him, including a very grumpy wolf and a very delightful crow. You can see them right there. And this is the story of why Nathan is being chased down and how he's going to come into his abilities. Okay. All right, so those are the fiction ones. Let's talk a little bit about nonfiction. This first one is from the Marvel Universe. This one is called Powers of a Girl, and this book focuses on all the strong women of the Marvel Universe. It talks about their powers, a little bit of their backstories, and what makes them so amazing. So if you're a huge Marvel fan, especially for the strong women, you will enjoy Powers of a Girl. Ensnared in the Wolf's Lair is a true story of World War II, and apparently there was a group of Germans who said, no, Hitler's wrong, we need to get rid of him, and they made an attempt on Hitler's life. Unfortunately, it failed, and Hitler decided to take revenge on those German families and went and basically captured all of anybody who ever even was kind of related to these German families, including all of the children. He ended up capturing over 200 Germans and sent them to a concentration camp. And this is the story of them, true story of them, and all of the plot to get that revenge. So it has eyewitness accounts and true stories from those families and the remaining survivors. PKseven is a story about an athlete who is known for being, for all of his anti-racist work. He now plays for the New Jersey Devils. He's won the Norris Trophy. At one point, he was considered the most hated player in the NHL because of how outspoken he was against things that were happening to people in his community. But he's also extremely generous, and this talks a lot about not only the sport of hockey and how he broke some of the barriers towards African-American hockey players, but also about his work in the community and ways that he's trying to fight racism. Be Fearless is a story about a young entrepreneur. Her name is Michaela Ulmer, who when she was 4 years old, she was stung by a bee twice, and she was determined not to be afraid of bees. So she started doing research about bees. She started learning as much as she could, and she realized that bees are in trouble and that we need to save them. So she started selling cups of lemonade outside her house in order to donate it to people who are trying to help bees, and has quickly become a major entrepreneur, including securing a deal on Shark Tank to kind of catapult her business to the next level. So if you've always thought that you would like to start your own business, or you're interested in ways that you can help save the planet, you might enjoy the story of Michaela Ulmer and her Be Fearless, her Me and the Bees lemonade. Challenge Everything is a book that talks about ways that young people can fight what's wrong with this world. It gives a lot of different ideas on ways that you can peacefully protest, the safe ways to do it, and it talks about different causes that have come up throughout history and ways that young people have helped. So it's called Challenge Everything. Kind of along those lines, this one is called For Which We Stand, and this is how our government works and why it matters. This is a really nice, concise, very graphic, with lots of pictures, lots of little tidbits, facts about how our government actually works. There's been so much in the news about elections and the Senate and the House and just all of this flood of information. So if you are kind of like, I don't really even understand what is happening or why these things are happening, this might give you a better understanding of exactly how our government works. And then it also talks a little bit about ways that you can fight for the change that we might need in this world. And then finally, to end on a positive note, this is called Hope, Kind, Love, Gaga, Channel Kindness. And this is a book of stories about all of kindness and hope in the world, compiled by Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. And throughout her journey, she has collected these stories of hope and kindness and put them together for you to enjoy. So that's Hope, Kind, Love, Gaga. Enjoy.